myths about Columbine that you thought were true but weren't true. So Eric and Dylan Klebold were thought to be part of the Trenchcoat Mafia. There was no such thing. That was all made up. They wore trench coats, but they weren't part of the Trenchcoat Mafia. That was made before then on a block site, and they never advocated for violence. Two, they were bullied. There was no evidence of them being bullied in schools. Nothing of that happened. They came from privileged backgrounds, and they weren't bullied. Number three is they went bowling before they went to school to go shoot it up. No, that is not true. They didn't go bowling before then. Another thing is that, another myth is that no one knew that they were violent. There was evidence of them being violent throughout their entire lives, but since they lived a privileged life in white suburbia in Colorado, the evidence of them being violent got unnoticed. They were heavily into racist and Nazi ideology. There was several times where they called black people the N-word in school before the shooting of before the massacre, and talking about how much they hated Jews and all this other stuff. So that there's strong evidence of this stuff throughout the entirety of the time they were there. In fact, there's evidence that they were the bullies, and no one really did anything. So all this evidence that, like, all this myth that it's always the quiet kids that shoot up the schools, or it's always the people that are picked on, that's not true. These two guys came from a privileged background. Nothing they did seemed to matter because their parents were rich, and they were going around bullying other kids, calling black people the N-word, saying that they hated Jews and all this and other minorities, right? And then they shot up a school. A lot of the kids that were shot up at school, even if you hate those two groups, were white. So again, they weren't bullied. None of this stuff matters. Pretty much every shooter I've looked up, there's no evidence that they were bullied. A lot of times they were just racist, or they were just couldn't get laid or whatever, which is still not evident, still not enough for them to go shoot up a school or whatever.